Today, my friends, I want to let you know, I want to give you a disclaimer off the top. If you thought that I was annoying, if you thought that I was, dare I say, insufferable over the weekend, oh, it's about to be a hell of a lot worse on today's program. It is about to be a hell of a lot worse on today's program because today, my friend, is the culmination of a story that has really been going on for 4 years. A story that has divided the MMA and at times boxing and at times combat sports community. A story that in many respects came to a conclusion back in July, and I'll explain why in a moment. But in reality, it came to a real conclusion on Saturday night in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Ah, yes, the kingdom was host to one of the great scenes, one of the great moments, one of the great pieces of theater in the history of combat sports, when our very own Francis Ngannou, le Prédateur, dared to be great, made that walk all by himself with no one believing in him. Let's be honest. Very few thought that this was a smart idea. Oh, I'm not just talking about leaving the UFC. I'm not just talking about, going out and signing with the PFL. I'm not even talking about, this fight. I'm talking about actually performing in this fight, actually winning a round. Francis Ngannou walked in there like he was about to take a stroll in Central Park, as cool, as calm as can be. And what did he do? He shocked the world, because make no mistake about it, he shocked the world on Saturday. Francis Ngannou won, in my opinion. I'm not just saying this like, oh, moral victory. Francis Ngannou won the boxing match. Francis Ngannou won the fight. Francis Ngannou won the night. He won them all. Check, check, check. He shut up all the doubters. He shoved it in their face, and he's been doing that all year long. And he finally put that exclamation point in on this Monday. He's finally getting the credit that he deserves. And we're going to bask in that credit. Oh, Ariel, is it about you? No, of course not. I didn't do anything. I mean, yeah, sure. People accused me of ruining his career when I had nothing to do with any of his decisions. People accused me of steering him wrong when I had nothing to do with any of his decisions. People accused me of being crazy enough to even think about the possibility of him fighting a Tyson Fury. People accused me of being crazy for criticizing everyone involved, for announcing the Usyk fight before this fight even happened. And so, yes, we are going to spike the football. We are going to be insufferable today. We are going to have a grand old time. I cannot wait to go over this, my friends. It's receipt season here on the MMA Hour. Lord have mercy. I am so happy to be here. I've been waiting for this since Saturday night. Oh, I got to tell you, I had a bit of FOMO. Yes, there was some talks of me going to the kingdom. It was my daughter's birthday. I made a promise to my daughter I would never miss her birthday. October 28th, my daughter was born 7 years ago. I had to be there. She scored a goal. Soccer, Saturday afternoon. I'm listening to the prelims. She's going in there looking like a young Lionel Messi. Both sons scored goals on Sunday as well. I got to see all three kids score goals. Give me that over the kingdom. Give me that or the battle of the baddest any day of the week. But I'll be honest, I had a bit of FOMO on Saturday, maybe a lot as well. And then that all went away on Saturday night as I saw our guy Francis Ngannou go in there and do what he did to Tyson Fury. Drop him in the third round, rock him in the eighth. And in my opinion, all the people, there's a difference between a close fight and a robbery. No. This wasn't, this is a different. No, this was a robbery, my friends, because that man won the fight. People have been asking me ever since Saturday. They've been saying, you know what, Ariel? How did you score it? Was it 6-4? Was it 96-93? Was it 97-92? What about the 10-8? Let me explain to you guys something. In no other walk of life does a guy like Francis Ngannou with 0 boxing fights on his record, and I'll get to that too. I have some things to say about this. All these people talking about calling him a novice. He's never been in a fight. What the fuck are you guys talking about? He's never been in a fight. He's been in cage fights, all right? Stop saying that he's some debutante. He's not Joe Schmo walking off the street going in there. But nevertheless, you wanna prop up the sport and say, okay, he's never been in a boxing match. It's different. You're wearing the shoes. It's the 12-ounce gloves, all that stuff. Fine. Okay, he goes in there and he does that to Tyson Fury. He knocks him down. He busts him up. He rocks him in the eighth, does all that stuff. You think I'm saying this fight doesn't make sense under any other, universe that we're living in. It doesn't make any sense. No one other than the UFC heavyweight champion of the world gets this opportunity. And so you think that I'm going to apply normal boxing rules? You think I'm going to apply normal boxing rules to a fight like this that doesn't make sense? That, let's be honest, should never have happened? It only happened because they thought it was an easy payday, a cakewalk. all the way to the Usyk fight on December 23rd, which ain't happening anymore. That's what they thought. And so I'm not going to sit there. I'm sorry if that offends anyone. I'm not going to sit there and go 10-9, 10-9. No. Francis Ngannou won this freaking fight. Francis Ngannou on this Monday, October 30th, is the baddest man on the planet. And for the first time in the history of combat sports, we can actually say that about one person who crosses over. Give me the pound-for-pound rankings in boxing. He's number one. Give me the pound-for-pound rankings in MMA. He's number one as well. The baddest man on the planet is Francis Ngannou. He's the fighter of the year in boxing. He's the fighter of the year in MMA. And all you motherfucking haters can suck it, because all of you believed that he was being an idiot for leaving the UFC, for signing with the PFL, for trying to box, for taking this fight. Oh my God, we're going to have a field day. The baddest man on the planet is going to join us at 2 p.m. Eastern. Grab your popcorn, friends. Oh, Ariel's going to be, he's going to be bowing down. No. This is all about Le Prédateur. I will stand up and I will bow down to the master. In fact, how big was Saturday night's moment? How big was the culmination of a year? Oh, I could just hear, he's going to be so, can we get some music? Do we have any music? We didn't really rehearse this, but I have something that I need to do because this was such a big moment. And it was so symbolic. You know why? Because there are people in the boxing community that think that we were doing a victory tour against them. No, we love boxing. What are you talking about? We have Devin Haney on the show. We have this guy, Terrence Crawford. We love boxing. This wasn't MMA versus boxing. They kind of framed it as such, with the boxing luminaries and this wasn't MMA versus boxing. This was a guy who dreamed big versus all the naysayers. This was Francis versus the doubters. This was Francis versus the UFC. This is Francis versus his own community, the MMA community that was wishing bad on him. This is Francis versus everyone who said that he was crazy. That's what this was. That's what the victory tour was about. It wasn't about him beating boxing. No, boxing's accepting him with open arms. They want him to fight Joshua, and they want him to fight Zhilei Zhang, and they want him to fight Wilder and all these people. This was one guy who had the balls to go out on his own and give the old middle finger to the establishment, who walked out there and shocked the world on Saturday. I don't know if we have any music, Frank. I don't know. But because this moment was so big, we need to immortalize this moment. We need to have a ceremony right now for the moment that will live in boxing, MMA, and combat sports lore. Look at it. This is Francis. He didn't just... We like Tyson around these parts. It's not about Tyson. Hey, Tyson fought the fight. He had to do what he had to do. Francis Ngannou, this was him shutting up the world. This was him telling every MMA fighter on the planet that you too can dare to be great, that you too could go out there, that you too could take a risk, that your window is very small, as they like to say. Go out there and be your own man. Dream big. And so without further ado, we shall put this up and immortalize it forever on the wall. Francis Ngannou, knocking out the haters. Oh, what a moment it is. Right next to our guy, Action Bronson, right over there. I mean, isn't that great, guys? What a shot. Shout out to Getty Images. Oh, boy, we got a lot to get to. I can't waste any more time. Not like I was wasting time. I'm just so fired up right now. As always, we are presented by our good friends over at DraftKings Sportsbook. They are the official sports betting partner of not only this program, but the UFC as well. Please download the app. Let them know we sent you. How the MMA Hour. It's right there. Oh, I hope you were one of those people that did a little Francis, if you were a guy who sprinkled or a gal who sprinkled on Francis to win, I'm sorry, because you are owed some money. But nevertheless, what a scene, what a show it was. Back into the show, Don Davis, who's the chairman and co-founder of the Professional Fighters League. What a coup for them. In retrospect, we all said, hey, the PFL did this right. They got him. They let him go do the boxing match. They get him back. In retrospect, the PFL got a deal here, because I feel like last week's price isn't this week's price when it comes to Francis Ngannou. That's what I think. And so let's see what they have to say about his future. Everyone's saying, no, stick with boxing. Well, you know what? The PFL deserves a lot of credit. They gave him a home. They gave him the deal. They gave him the freedom. That could have been a UFC co-promotion. That could have easily have been a UFC co-promotion. And if I'm a UFC stockholder on this Monday, I'm asking hard questions. Why weren't we involved? Didn't we have this guy under contract for all those years? Why wasn't this a co-promotion with our broadcast partner, ESPN? Why didn't we get involved in this? Why don't we have the baddest man on the planet on our roster? Well, he's on the PFL roster. And so I'd like to hear from Don Davis about what he thought of Saturday night and also where Francis goes from here. Prior to that, we're going to be joined by Dan Hardy, who was at the venue. He was doing a great job representing the sport of mixed martial arts on TNT Sports, box office with our friends Carl Frampton and Laura Woods. Lennox Lewis was there. Bunsey was there. They did a great job. I thought their broadcast was superior, if I'm being honest. I was able to watch some of it as well, and I thought they smashed it. Kudos to them. Prior to that, we're going to be joined by Edward Hearn, our good friend who was glowing on Saturday night. Get his thoughts because he was quite critical of Francis as well. What does this mean for the heavyweight division? What does this mean for his guy? Anthony Joshua, what does he have to say about what one Francis did? And prior to that, we're going to be joined by Francis Ngannou, live from Saudi Arabia. And I believe his first interview since Saturday. I know he did some media on Saturday, but since Saturday, I believe he had a great video up on his YouTube channel. I suggest you check it all out. Why do I say 4 years? Why do I say 4 years? And I don't need to go through everything. A lot of people are, saying, are you going to have the receipts? Are you going to have the receipts? We don't need to do that big of a deep dive, but of course we're going to have the receipts. I mean, CBS called me and asked me if we had enough paper for all the receipts that we're about to print out today, because yes, we do have to go over a few things. I remember doing an ESPN radio pre-fight show prior to the pay-per-view in Las Vegas in July of 2019. This was the card that was headlined by John Jones versus Thiago Santos, also Jorge Masvidal, Ben Askren, et cetera, et cetera. And I remember that Tyson Fury was on the program. And I remember him talking about a special rules fight, because that's where this kind of started with Francis Ngannou. I'll be honest, it seemed very far-fetched. But it was around this time that Francis started talking about this fight. Now remember, June, July 2019, Francis Ngannou was coming off the win over Junior Dos Santos in June of 2019. Remember, Francis wasn't even the UFC champion. He had a bit of a stinker against Stipe and then a bigger stinker against Derek Lewis in July of 2018. He was just a year removed from that stinker. And he was talking about Tyson Fury. We have one of the articles. Our friend Alan Dawson over at Business Insider spoke to him. And there it is. Francis Ngannou is hopeful his UFC career will lead to a boxing super fight against Tyson Fury or Deontay Wilder. That's June 28, 2019. That is right before this came out, the fight against JDS, which happened on June 29, 2019. Around a week or so later, I had Tyson Fury on my show, and he talked about it as well. But this was a far-fetched dream. There was no chance that this was going to happen. And then, of course, we know in March of 2020, the world shut down and the pandemic happened. And Francis was one of those guys who was supposed to fight on one of those cards that got canceled. So they stuck him on the UFC 249 card. Remember UFC 249 in Jacksonville, he starches Jairzinho Rozenstruik in 20 seconds. Remember, right after that, he's banging the drum. Get me on a card. Get me John Jones. That's where the John Jones thing really happened. And at the time, the UFC was very much in his camp, saying, oh, John shouldn't even consider this. He might move down to 185. Remember this? We went through all of this. We're not going to go through it again. Trust me. I know we went through it. You can find it on YouTube. But this is when he was banging that drum. I want a big fight. I want a super fight. I want to do this. I want to do that. He also knew in the back of his mind, he only had 2 fights left on his deal. Well, one of those fights ended up being the Stipe rematch for the belt, March of 2021. What happens? He beats him in the second round. He knocks him out. Incredible stuff. He's now the champion. And so between March of 2021 and January of 2022, the UFC tries to re-sign him because he now has 1 fight left on his deal, and they don't want their champion going into the final fight of their contract and with nothing locked up. That's a really dangerous game to play. But it's a game that the UFC usually wins. They usually win in these situations. They have incredible timing and luck, and the house usually wins. Well, we know what happens. He goes into the Ciryl Gane fight. He's all busted up. He's down 2-0. He ends up wrestling 3-4-5, and he ends up winning the fight. That was January of 2022. We're approaching 2 years since his last fight. Then it's a year of will he or won't he? By the way, he gets ACL surgery during that time. Will he stay? Will he not stay? Will he stay? Will he not stay? Is he going to sign with Jones? I want the Tyson fight. I want the super fights. I want this. I want the freedom. I want respect. Remember that whole saga? I mean, this part alone has been almost 2 years. This part of the chapter has been almost 2 years. They can't come to a deal. And it's not like hey, we can't come to a deal. Thank you for your time. It's a post-fight press conference. It's unceremonious. It's let's sweep him under the rug and let's say goodbye to Francis Ngannou. And let's spin that we are releasing him so everyone knows that we don't want to be in the business of Francis Ngannou, that we don't want to share a piece of the pie with the top ranker Queensberry, give the broadcast partner ESPN, the super fight to end all super fight. No. We don't want to do this because we don't think that he is, I don't know, worth it. He's too much trouble. I don't know. You remember that press conference, right? That was Dana White back in January of 2023. It wasn't that long ago. It was just 10 months. Oh, yeah. In case you forgot, this is a portion of what he said.
I think Francis is in a place right now where he doesn't want to take a lot of risk. Feels like he's in a good position where he could fight lesser opponents and make more money.
Lesser opponents and make more money. You remember that? You remember when they tried to assassinate his character and say that he wanted lesser opponents to make more money? He wanted to not take risks. He wanted to go out there and fight bums. And that really became the narrative for several months. Because when Dana White says something, he's very influential and a lot of people love him and just take everything that he says as gospel. They believe it. Oh, he didn't want the John Jones fight. He was actually afraid of John Jones. He wants to go fight Cans in another promotion, or he wants to fight a boxing Can. I mean, again, we've gone over this. Insanity to think that a guy's going to go into boxing and that's the easier route. Try to fight a Wilder, Joshua Fury, and that's the easier route. Or try to say goodbye to the big bad, empire, and that's the easier route. None of this is easy. Let alone everything that the guy's been through, which has been well documented at this point. None of this was easy. But that's the way it was positioned. He's trying to take the easier route. He's trying to take easier fights. He doesn't want to challenge himself. In fact, right after that press conference, we spoke to Richard Schaefer, who was working as a consultant for John Jones, who, of course, has been in the boxing game for a very long time, and he even backed up what Dana White said. Take a listen.
And I don't see in any way, shape, or form that a Francis Ngannou could go and, for example, beat a Deontay Wilder or a Tyson Fury or an Alexander Usyk. And so if you, and I would have to assume that you and your colleagues and boxing media experts would agree with me on that.
Incorrect.
So if that is the case, then why do I need to see it? Why do I need to pay $80 or whether $100 to see a fight when I know who is going to win? I'm not interested in that. And I think he's a terrific athlete, and I think he has some big fights ahead of him. And I personally think, that's just my feeling, that he made a mistake not working out his deal with UFC.
Oh, Richard, I love you, but I hope you bought it on Saturday because it was quite the scene. It was one of the great moments in the history of the heavyweight division in boxing. I hope you watched. And could you imagine at this point, we're at the beginning of the journey and everyone has an opinion. Everyone has an opinion on Francis. And most people, let's be honest, are saying that he made a mistake. His peers were saying that he made a mistake. I love Sean O'Malley. I love Tim Welch, the Timbo and Sugar show. Or is it the Sugar and Timbo show? Regardless, I love them. But, no one is spared when you look back at history and you look at the receipts. They, too, were critical of his decision. This is what they had to say in early March.
Francis, and I said it since day one, since he started talking shit on the UFC on Twitter, it's going to be the biggest mistake of his life because now, I think this is Chael Sonnen's kind of original idea. I'm like, dude, and he's right. Tyson Fury is not interested in Francis Ngannou anymore. He was interested in Francis when he was the UFC champ. He was the pound for pound baddest, or the baddest motherfucker in the world. Now he's not signed to the UFC. Now it's not as intriguing. Who is Francis? Francis is, it's eventually going to be like, well, he hasn't fought in 2 years. That fight's going to be not as interesting. Tyson Fury's, if he wants a big fight, why not say just John Jones? That will never happen. But
yeah, it's almost like Francis didn't even do it because of the money. He almost did it to make a point.
No.
Or something.
No. You do that because you want that payday. You want that boxing payday. And that was in his head. That was in his manager's head. That's what I'm assuming. I'm guessing, obviously. I don't fucking know. But I think he's thinking, you saw Conor do it, but Conor did it with the UFC. He didn't do it by himself. The more days go on, the less intrigue, the less care we have for Francis to go to boxing.
Are you starting to follow this? I mean, this was a thing. Remember those tweets? These guys don't want him. These guys, he fumbled, he screwed up. I mean, could you imagine what Francis is thinking now at this point? It's almost like there was this self-fulfilling prophecy where everyone wanted to be right. Everyone wanted to be right. Tyson doesn't want this guy. He's not in the UFC. He wants the UFC shine. He wants to beat the UFC. Again, boxers don't think this way, but this is how we think in MMA. Everyone's weighing in. They're weighing in on Twitter. They're weighing in in the world of MMA. The fighters are weighing in, the active fighters, the ex-fighters, the promoters in boxing are weighing in. Everyone's weighing in. In fact, in April, our good friend Eddie Hearn, who we'll be speaking to later on in the program, he weighed in as well. Guess what? Spoiler alert. He was dismissive of his chances of getting this fight and of performing well in this fight, too. Listen to this.
You cannot, in a million years, with Francis Ngannou's ability in boxing and pedigree in boxing, go in and compete technically, skill-wise, not just with AJ, but with any top 20 heavyweight in the world.
Oh, it's so good. I'm having so much fun. Is everyone else having fun back there? I mean, I'm having a great time.
This is like
great.
milk.
I mean, it has just been fantastic. It has been fantastic. I've been in a tremendous mood. I mean, let's be honest. It's been a tough time. It's been a tough few weeks for me and my people, but this has been a ray of sunshine. Thank you, Francis, for this, because again, it's not so much about, 96, 94. This was about proving everyone wrong. How often do you get a slow build like this? Usually it's 2-3 months. This has been a 4-year build. Oh my God. Do you remember when everyone was weighing in, guys? Do you remember even David Feldman, our pal from BKFC, the president of BKFC, was saying, Francis, the clock is ticking, my friend. This is even before the PFL deal was announced. The clock is ticking. You're screwing it up. You're fumbling the bag. You're messing it up. Oh, David, how has this aged? How has this aged? Do you remember what I'm talking about? Here's a reminder of what David said.
And Francis Ngannou could be, someone. He's someone that we've certainly reached out to. We talked to him. We talked to his team. At this point, we just feel like he's asking for unrealistic money, and we're not willing to pay that kind of money for him. I do think he needs to make his mind up pretty soon because, I feel like his value will, as the days go on, his value is starting to drop a little bit.
The value is starting to drop. How's that value now? How's that value now for Big Francis? What do you think he commands? 20 million on the open market? How's that value now? I mean, yeah, sure. He didn't get a chance to fight Todd Duffy in a BKFC ring, but how is that value now? I'm so excited. GC did such a great job of going through all this. I even skipped one. Conor McGregor was in studio. We got to give Conor his shine too. Conor was at the event, and God bless him. He was there supporting as well, but even he said that Francis made a bit of a mistake walking on his own, leaving the UFC. We're calling it like we see it here, my friends. This is what Conor had to say.
I thought he made an error, to be honest. I mean, he hasn't fought in a minute. Get a bout under the belt and then maybe start. I wasn't sure why he done that, to be honest. And, it kind of took the shine off him how it went. But look, I wish him well.
He wishes him well, and he was certainly there. He was one of the few active UFC fighters. By my count, I think it was Izzy Usman who walked out with Francis, and Conor was there as well. What a scene that was. All the big wigs, right? I mean, from the world of boxing and the world of MMA and the world of, oh boy, entertainment. I must have heard that Eminem and Kanye were there 4,000 times on the broadcast. But I mean, from a boxing perspective, the luminaries that were there was just nothing short of amazing. Do you guys remember the One Championship saga and all of this? Chatri was in studio saying he was going to meet with him. Then he puts out the press release saying he asked for too much. Do you guys remember that lunacy? This is a bit of what Chatri said. Again, everyone was just trying to get ahead of it. And in the process, devalue and diminish the value of this soft-spoken guy who was just trying to capitalize. At 37, by the way, not exactly a 23-year-old, not exactly a spring chicken. This is what he said, quote, he was asking for a seat at the board of directors. He was asking for him to determine his opponent's pay, which he eventually got. We'll get to that in a moment. We offered him 16 million pounds, 20 million USD, guaranteed. The money wasn't enough. He wanted all of these other non-financial terms that didn't make a lot of sense. We obviously can't give a seat at the board of directors. That doesn't make any sense. He would be a fish out of water in that position. Why is that? PFL, again, credit to them, they seem to be okay with it, and they ended up giving him that deal in late May. And when he signed that deal, if you'll remember, everyone said, this is why you left? This is what we've been waiting for the past 4 or 5 months? The PFL deal, PFL Africa, no opponent, 2024, you're going to box before? Who are you going to box before, man? Who are you going to box? You going to box some jabron? Who are you going to box? You're going to box someone in Omaha, Nebraska in front of 5 people on some app that no one's heard of? Like, come on, Francis. Snap out of it. You're living in a dream. What is this? You're embarrassing yourself. Do you guys remember all of that? Everyone. The PFL deal wasn't the big celebration. In fact, people were like, oh, okay, great, good for you. But like, is this over? Have you like snapped back to reality? Our good friend Dana White was at a press conference shortly after that deal and talked about Francis's desire to still box, and even used Anthony Joshua as an example of someone who couldn't care less about a Francis Ngannou fight. This is what he had to say.
Francis just thinks that he's in a position where he's got some Conor McGregor Mayweather fight on his hands, which he does not. Anthony Joshua called it a gimmick fight this week. You know, when asked about that fight, he's like, I'm focused on fighting the best guys in the world. You know, I'm not interested in the gimmick fight right now. And that's one of the big problems with boxing right now, is it's all about these gimmicky type fights. And that's just not what I do here. It's not what I do.
I did a whole rant about it's just not what we do here and the gimmicky fights and all that stuff. But it's just important for the sake of this story to remember how everyone was shitting on this guy. And this is even before he gets the Tyson fight. And you'll remember when he got the Tyson fight, and that was announced in July 11th to be exact, everyone, the boxing media, I mean, I consume a ton of boxing media. There wasn't a single boxing pundit out there that said, A, they were excited, B, this was a good idea, C, he had a chance. They were shitting on it. Tyson's holding up the division. He's fighting a novice. He's fighting a debutant. The guy has no chance. Where's the Usyk fight? Strip him of the belt. I mean, Talk Sport was going crazy over this. Oh my God, this is such a sham. This is such a joke. How dare he? It's just a money grab. But let's be honest, it was a money grab. For Tyson Fury, this was a money grab. This was a ton of money to kick off this Riyadh season against a guy who didn't pose, I think in his mind, he would agree, a big threat. And then we get the Usyk fight. This was a money grab. It was. But people failed to give Francis that script. This was a part of his journey as well. This was him trying to show everyone that, A, he could be a boxer, that the original dream is still the dream. He wanted to be a boxer before he even knew what MMA was. People failed to give him that script. And so for the next 3 months, we had everyone weighing in. Everyone was weighing in. Oh, it's going to be an exhibition. There's going to be no knockdowns. There's going to be no knockouts. There's not going to be any judges. It's not going to be sanctioned, all this stuff. In fact, even as late as this week, Eddie Hearn's still talking about why is this fight being sanctioned. This is what he said to IFL.
I mean, look, the British Boxing Board of Control are sanctioning a fight in Saudi Arabia next week between a 34-0 heavyweight, who is the #1 heavyweight in the world, against a guy who's never put on a pair of boxing gloves in a professional code. So that's all right. Why are you sanctioning that fight?
British title fight out there as well.
But why are you... No, the British title fight, fine. I mean, it's not within their rules to hold a British title fight outside of the UK. They changed those rules. But they're also sanctioning a fight between the #1 heavyweight in the world and a guy that has never boxed before. And, you know, I didn't know about that Saudi Arabian event being sanctioned by the board, that heavyweight fight. It shocked me, to be honest with you. Interesting as well.
Well, apparently the British Boxing Board of Control, apparently they knew something that we didn't. And now he's going to be ranked. And I know you could say, oh, they're paying them off and this is all. I get all of that. I totally get all of that. But in retrospect, to see everyone just shit on this fight along the way, and then to see all these famous people and luminaries, and yes, I know they were all paid to be there and probably paid handsomely, and I know about the history of Saudi Arabia. We could go through this from now until tomorrow. We've talked about it on this show. Don't just jump in now and say, what about this, that, and the other. I was getting people saying like, I bet you won't talk about this. Look at Ariel. I didn't profit a penny. In fact, I turned it down. I turned it down from a social influencer perspective. I turned it down from a broadcast perspective. I was sitting at home with my daughter eating Ben & Jerry's ice cream on Saturday. I profited zero off of all of this. But golly, did I get something even greater. I got the guy that everyone said was an idiot all freaking year, shutting up all the doubters. If you can't take joy in that, if you can't see the beauty, the poetic justice in that, I think that you are cold-hearted. And it wasn't just those very famous people whose opinions we really respect. It wasn't just those people. If you want an indication, my friends, as to why you should never listen to social media, and in particular the nunces, the morons, the dolts on Twitter, these people that don't have their real fucking names attached to their profiles with their fake pictures and their fake names and their fake accounts. If you want an indication as to why you should never, ever, ever let these people check into your brain, how about some of these great tweets that we have compiled, or I should say GC has compiled. There's no one better at doing this as well. Can we look at some of the tweets? Oh, these are great. Well, I love Ant Evans. He's first up. This is amazing. And Ant has He has absolutely walked this back. Credit to him. A lot of people can learn a thing or two from Ant. Ant Evans back in January. The absolute meltdowns some MMA media peeps are having over Ngannou losing his battle with UFC is something to behold. Who are we talking about, Ant? And I love Ant. Ant's a friend, but he could take it. He's a big boy. I get they've spent a full year cheerleading the guy as he pursued a losing strategy, but wow. If I were to guess why they're so irate, I'd say he's been their author insertion in a kind of fantasy fan fiction. A lot of MMA beat writers hate their jobs, their bosses, and especially their crap pay. That's why they over-identify with the fighter pay issue. Francis is an avatar for their own frustrations. Francis had leverage, but he overplayed it. And UFC finally had enough. Now, got to hope PFL have funds, or Bellator's bankrollers think Ngannou spikes their sale price. What an idiot. And anyone who says otherwise is thick too. I mean, this is the type of hatred that Francis received. This is the type of hatred that people in the media like myself were being blamed. We were being blamed for steering him wrong, for giving him bad advice. We were being blamed for saying, you know what, it wasn't about the if you're getting the most money, get it from it wherever you can get it. It wasn't Francis versus UFC. Like I've said before, having the best fighters fight under one umbrella is great for all of us because we could just see the best fights. This is about a guy going out there and making the walk and realizing that he only has a few years left and realizing his own dreams. Why was everyone shitting on it so bad? Let's go to more tweets. I love these. These are the best. Oh, the tweets were fantastic. What else do we have here? Oh, this is a great guy. Fonzo MMA. Ngannou is officially done in the UFC now. Congrats to all who pushed him to quote unquote be free. You ruined his career. And how many times did I hear from the freaking dolts, the morons, the losers, the idiots on Twitter who said, you ruined his career? No. Ariel's making it about himself. No. I'm actually the one who got these messages. You ruined his career. I was never in a board meeting with Francis. Never asked me to negotiate a deal. Never asked my opinion on any of these things. Let's go to more. Oh my God, this is great. Let's admit that Francis Ngannou dropped the ball on that stupid decision to leave the UFC. Now he's jobless and going around begging boxers to have exhibition fights. He legit ended his own career out of fear and greed. Fear and greed. Wow, he ruined his career, guys, out of fear and greed. How that makes any sense? I mean, we all want to make the most amount of money. And what was he afraid of? Oh, he was afraid of walking in there against Tyson Fury, the lineal heavyweight champion of the world. Let's go to more. These are great. Oh, this is a good one. I like this one. This is a fun one. Azim, shout out to my boy Azim. I blame the downfall of Ngannou mainly on all of you deluded fans and media, Ariel, for encouraging him to leave the UFC like it was a good idea, all because you're so anti-UFC. You've essentially ruined his career. The UFC always wins. We should know this by now. These are great. Let's keep going. These are too good. Oh, Stamkos, shout out to him. Francis Ngannou should sue. He should sue the MMA media who essentially ruined his career, talking him into turning down 3 to 24 million or 3 fights, 24 million, whatever. He's probably going to make that much for this fight alone. Nobody wants to see the guy box. He burnt the UFC bridge. If not, he's taking a pay cut from 3 to 24. He hasn't fought in 60 months, and yet nobody seems to care. Boy, they seem to care on Saturday. I'll tell you that much. They seem to care. Let's keep going. This stuff is too good. I mean, this is just chicken soup for the soul. This was the best when everyone was going like, this guy turned him down, this guy turned him down, this guy. Never going with the for some reason, and I was talking to my friend Dan Canobio about this, Inside Boxing Live. He's like, oh, Ariel's taking a victory lap over the boxing community. No. This was the MMA community that for some reason was wishing harm on this guy, that was wishing for him to fail. It was the most self-sabotaging thing that I've ever seen. This self-fulfilling prophecy where they wanted their own to fail. Unbelievable. The losers. Shout out to the MMA journalist that ruined Ngannou's career. Oh boy, we feel so bad. We feel so bad about ruining his career. You fucking morons. All we were doing was talking about the truth. We were talking about this guy going out there and what I said. What did I say time and again? Let's wait till this plays out. If it ends up being the PFL in some fight on some app that we don't know anything about in some random town, Idaho, yeah, it didn't work out. Do you think it worked out now? Do you think he's pretty much in demand in 2 sports now? What do you guys think? More tweets. Oh, this is one of my favorites, which I'm told has now been deleted. A tweet back in May. Ariel Helwani and Luke Thomas, shout out to Big Luke, need to be held accountable. It's like we committed some war crimes here for letting Ngannou believe that he could leave the UFC and find success. I know it was Ngannou's decision, but the media genuinely could have influenced that decision that ruined his career. Let me tell you guys something. Francis is a big boy. We didn't convince him to leave. We didn't convince him to stay. We didn't convince him to. He knew exactly what he wanted. So for you dolts to give us that much power and credit, I appreciate that you think we have that much influence. But to write bullshit like this, oh, I hope that you feel ashamed of yourself. Please send me all the apologies. And that's what this was all about on Saturday, because I had to read utter nonsense like this for a year from people who know nothing, who have never talked to a fighter, who know nothing about this business, who know nothing about the fight business, who know nothing about what fighters go through. They were rooting against him. Recognize that. MMA fans were rooting against the MMA fighter who had the balls, the cojones to make that walk alone. Do we have other tweets? I mean, I can't. Oh my God. Here I am talking about Khamzat Chimaev, who was frustrated back in May that he couldn't get a fight. And I said, remember this when you hear we have to give them 3 fights a year, because that too is a fallacy. And what about Zubre? I mean, again, all bullshit names, bullshit pictures, bullshit handles. Remember when Ariel ruined Ngannou's career? Remember this. So when everyone comes in like, Ariel, why are you sucking him off? Because I had to read shit like this for a year. Oh, why are you so thin-skinned? Because I had to read utter nonsense like this for a year. Another great one, when Francis came on to announce the PFL deal. You honestly single-handedly ruined his career by endorsing and pushing everything he did. Oh my! I mean, does anyone else just love that? I mean, am I the only one having a grand old time here? I'm having one of the best days of my life just reading this stuff. These are incredible finds, GC. Thank you so much. This might be your best work to date. Do we have more? Because I'm just enjoying this. Shout out to Tristan, who actually has a real face on this. Do we have any more, or is that
No,
it?
so that's it.
That's it. Okay, you look fantastic. Hello, happy Halloween.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I'm having a blast back here, but no one else got the memo about the costumes. Frank didn't get a mask. Rick is just plain Jane. You know, you just got your flannel shirt on, so this is embarrassing. But yeah, I am having fun.
Oh my God, you did.
I also do have to say about the tweets, like digging them up, it was not hard. All you had to do was type in Ngannou ruined, Ngannou idiot, Ngannou stupid, and there was a million to go through. All these people are like, oh, you bookmarked these tweets. I can't believe you saved these. It's like, nah, they live on the internet forever, and you can find them just instantly. I mean, some of them were just gold.
You have seen my bookmark folder. Yeah, you look fantastic. Snap into a Slim Jim.
Look at these, these guns on me.
It's a great costume.
Actually, like, can I even fit in this bad boy with the guns on? I mean,
yeah. Oh, look at that.
Francis Ngannou, the Predator. I mean, we'll see.
UFC approved. I don't know how to bookmark anything. You've seen this yourself. I don't have a single bookmark tweet. This was all your work. Not too hard to find. And so, yes, it was beautiful. It was a great moment. You know the story by now. He goes in there as cool as can be. He owned the moment. It was an insane scene. There was a 2-hour concert. The ring came up from the ground. All this stuff, and then in the end, the fight starts, and Fury's a little bit aggressive, right? But Francis is able to weather the storm. He's not biting on any of the feints. You know, it's almost like he didn't know any better. So Francis is doing his usual dance. He's not biting on any of that stuff. He's calm. He's not overextending. He's not getting too like excited. He loses the first round, in my opinion, but these were all very close rounds. Every single one of them was close except for the third. He wins the second round, in my opinion, and then it's a 10-8, and then it's a holy shit, and it's that moment right there where he drops him and he dances in front of him, and now you're like, is this actually happening? Is this the second coming of Buster Douglas and Mike Tyson? I mean, these snaps right here are surreal. Francis Ngannou, who everyone said is going to get carried, who doesn't have a chance, who's going to lose in the second round, who's going to lose in the third round, who may even lose in the first round. Look at that training footage. Look at how, awkward he is. Look at how slow he is. Is this guy trolling? All this stuff. He goes in there and he drops Tyson Fury. And there's a case to be made that maybe he got too excited at that point and maybe didn't stick to the game plan. But it wasn't like that was the last round that he won. Again, I thought he won the fight. Tyson was able to get back, on track, landed a nice elbow in the 6th round. 8th round, Francis rocks him again. It was incredible. I was captivated. I was riveted. I was glued to the screen. I couldn't get enough. I truly could not get enough of it. It was, I mean, it was one of the greatest things that I've ever seen. And again, I couldn't care less that he didn't get the decision. Would it make it nice? Would it make it clean? Would it make it easy? Absolutely. But he won the match. He won the fight. He won the night. And the boxing media now is doing the whole thing where, you know, Fury looked like crap. He didn't look like himself. Oh, he was out for too long. Very little giving Francis credit. Like, the reason why Fury looked bad, in my opinion, was because of Francis. He told us he had a 12-week training camp. He was giving him all the credit in the world. He built him up. He did a great job of building him up. That's good. That's what you should do before a fight. He should tell his brother that's what you should do before a fight. Francis, because of how different he is, because of how strong he is, Fury's trying to clinch with him. He's throwing him off. He's literally taking his arm and throwing him off. He's switching stances. He's going to southpaw on him. Big Francis going to southpaw on Tyson Fury. He doesn't know what to do at that point. He wasn't expecting that. Goes in there and freaking pulls off one of the great performances in the history of fighting. What a moment. With all those famous people, the eyes of the sporting world watching him. Who cares if they were paid or not to be there? They were there watching this guy who everyone said fumbled the bag, who showed up on fight week with a bag that actually said fumbled the bag. He trademarked that. Gimmick Fight Promotions. You got Michael Buffer out there reading Gimmick Fight Promotions. I mean, there's the bag right there. This guy laughing all the way to the bank. How could you, even if you were wrong, even if you were on the other side of this whole argument, how could you not appreciate this? How could you not appreciate this victory for this guy who grew up with nothing, who escaped poverty, who escaped death multiple times, who was homeless? How could you not appreciate this? How could you not root for this? How could you not want to see how this story plays out now? 2024 is going to be fascinating for this guy. Oh my God, it was amazing. It was amazing. I'm still buzzing over here. I'm still buzzing from, you know, the culmination now. I mean, I'll tell you guys right now, it's the story of the year. It will win my award for story of the year because of how long it went on for. Because of how long it went on for, and because of, you know, how much shit this guy had to listen to over the past year. People doubting him, people dismissing him. Let me ask the guys what they thought of it, because I've been talking now for 45 minutes. And in 15 minutes' time, we're going to be joined live from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia by one Francis Ngannou, and I can't wait for that conversation. Oh, it's going to be so great. It's going to be fantastic. New York Rick, you watched the fight. Yeah. You watched the fight. Yesterday on text, I'm being consistent. We were going back on the scoring and whatnot. I said, I don't even care about the scoring. The scoring doesn't matter to me. This man won the fight because the usual rules of boxing do not apply in this fight, in my opinion. And so if you look at that fight and you watch it and you don't even know what 10-9 is, who won this fight? It was called the Battle of the Bats. Who won this fight? Francis Ngannou, right?
Pride rules, yeah.
Pride rules.
Yeah.
Agree?
I agree that he won the fight in those rules, but I don't agree that he won the boxing fight.
Yeah.
But I don't care. I don't care about that.
Good.
We talked about Islam Makhachev, we talked about Alex Volkanovski, and we talked about, like, did Alex look his best? I don't care about that time, and I don't care about it this time either. Tyson Fury, as the lineal heavyweight champion of boxing, should be able to beat Francis Ngannou under any circumstances. And the betting public and everybody else reflected that reality, and Francis Ngannou bucked that. So I ultimately don't care what the scorecards read, because I think Francis Ngannou won public opinion, right? He won in the court of public opinion, regardless of what the scorecards will say. And Tyson Fury will carry that. He will not be happy walking away with whatever the victory said on the judge's decision, because he will carry that he let Francis Ngannou do that to him, and Francis Ngannou was able to do that to him. So ultimately, I don't think the scorecards matter much in this regard. Now, for Francis' side, certainly he will believe he won, and it would be nice for him to win, but I don't care about that. I don't care about how Fury looked. I only care about what ultimately Francis was able to do. And for my money, that was one of the most impressive performances I've seen in combat sports. And by the way, like, I think we can isolate this fight in a vacuum, and just because of what the expectations were, right? I think the doubt was essential to this. I think the idea of the Usyk fight being booked ahead of time is essential to this. We talked about it at the time that it was made. I thought that this would help promotionally. Now, I did not don't by no means am I saying I foresaw what happened here with Francis Ngannou coming, but I think that helps the story, right? He was counted out in every conceivable way and was able to have this type of performance, and I think that's essential to the story. But it was one of the most impressive combat sports performances I can remember. And not only that, if you go back to his last three fights, the last three performances by Francis Ngannou, ruined knee, coming back after being down 2 rounds to win the last 3 rounds in a wrestling affair against the guy that was billed as the next heavyweight superstar for the UFC. Another performance that, like, I was sitting there on Saturday night thinking, when's the last time I was as impressed with the performance as I have been with Francis Ngannou against Tyson Fury? And the one that I came up with, there's been some great ones, but the one that I came up with where I saw something from somebody that I just did not know that they had was Francis Ngannou versus Cyril Gane. Was Francis Ngannou on one knee wrestling a decision on Cyril Gane with all the chips on the table, with his livelihood on the line, with his ability to negotiate and leverage this on the line? That was the last time. So he's responsible for 2 of the last amazing performances that I can remember with all the chips on the table. And then you go to the one even before that, where he looked like a completely different fighter against Stipe Miocic, a guy who annihilated him over the final rounds of his first title opportunity and took him out. Like, the last 3 performances for Francis Ngannou, I'd put up there against anybody who's ever done it in combat sports for a 3-fight series. The dude has done some truly, truly special things in the last 3 fights. You can go back to Jairzinho knockout, but I don't think the stakes are as high for those last 3 as they are for those last 3. But man, I was blown away. I'm at a loss for words. I'm blown away. I don't have the capacity to describe what we saw from Francis Ngannou.
Great recap of everything. And I'm just so, like, now I love the fact that he's getting his flowers. I love the fact that he's in a position now to command all this money. I can't wait to see how this all plays out. It almost doesn't even matter at this point, right? Because he's got so many options. I just can't, oh my God, I just can't believe he actually did that with those freaking, cards stacked against him. What was he, a plus 800 or something like that? Or what is he, plus 750 or something crazy?
Yeah, I mean, he was like a plus 800. He was like, I mean, Tyson Fury was like minus 1600 on the odds. And like, going back to what Rick said, like, I really am at a loss for words. Like, I was absolutely floored. I couldn't believe it for the first 2 rounds. I was like, wow, Francis Ngannou is being very competitive here. And then when he actually dropped him, I was stunned. I really didn't know how to react. Like, that was the moment where I was like, oh my God, he really might win this fight. And I mean, honestly, we're handing out receipts. I have to, I have to come clean. Obviously, I had a massive bet on Tyson Fury. I'd had it for a while. I really thought Tyson Fury was not going to struggle much in this one. I actually was saying back here in the control room, Frank can, confirm, they discussed betting Francis Ngannou by decision at like plus 1,800. They were like, oh yeah, if you bet $10, you'll win 180. I was like, if you bet $10, you'll lose $10. He's not going to win by a decision, yada, yada, yada. So honestly, I doubted him a ton too. So to see what he did on Saturday, it was truly, truly insane.
Oh my gosh. What about the Furies? Huh? I think you were the one that had that tweet, right? In the last 2 weeks, John Fury almost saw his son.
Dicey moments. You could have given that decision to KSI, and you could have given that decision to Francis Ngannou, and I don't think people would have been complaining.
Both, right? Could you imagine?
Yes, easily. We were at the KSI fight, and then obviously I've now watched the Fury fight twice. I am in the same camp as Rick. I think from round to round, Tyson won more rounds and moments. But I mean, obviously Francis had the bigger and more impactful moments. And then obviously he did way more damage to Tyson over the long run. So if you scored it for him, like, these are insanely close rounds too. If you scored it for him, I would have no issue with it. And then obviously the KSI one as well. It's crazy.
The score I ultimately came up with was 96-93 Fury. Some of those rounds were razor close. If I told anybody ahead of the fight that Francis Ngannou was going to lose 96-93 to Tyson Fury,
I had 95-94.
I'd be looked at as a crazy person. And that's the widest I could conceive it possibly being. Like, it could very conceivably be 95-94 Fury. It could very conceivably be 95-94 Francis. No doubt in my mind.
And the elbow. Like, you got to bring up the elbow too. Like, it was a clear elbow that Lance snapped Ngannou's head back. Like, there's a world where you could make an argument to take a point away there.
If like he rocked him in the 8th,
Yeah, that like barrage
Yes.
in the 8th round. Like it started looking like he was going to drop him again there.
If he was just a little bit more aggressive, if he was just a little bit more aggressive in the in the 9th and 10th, I think he wins this
Yes.
fight, right? And
Yes.
I saw some people say
Those were the deciding rounds, in my opinion. I think after 8, it had drawn to a point where whoever wins these final 2 rounds wins.
I saw some people saying that he was taking his foot off the gas. I don't know if that's the case. Very, very possible he got tired. He threw a super bad punch.
Yeah.
What was it, the 9th or 10th? It was crazy.
It was in the 9th. And by the way, like, let's not act like Tyson Fury had a ton of activity going in the 9th and 10th either. I scored those rounds for him, but they were those rounds were up for grabs, and you could definitely figure out ways to score that for Francis Ngannou. Again, though, as you said, the scoring is so insignificant to this. What he did was monumental, was historic, was all time. Like I am blown away by what he was able to do in that ring. And I'm right there in the camp with GC. He's owning up to it. Like there's no doubt in my mind that Tyson Fury was going to win that fight heading into it. There was not an ounce of me that thought he wouldn't. And to be honest, that's what makes it so special, right? Like the expectation that was upon Tyson Fury, and how easily he was perceived to be able to do this, moving on from this to an Usyk fight, was a foregone conclusion. And Francis Ngannou played spoiler once again. He seems to have a knack for spoiling people's plans, and
just
making
like the
his own.
Cyril fight. So what do you like if you were in charge, if you were Markel Martin? Again, another guy who deserves an apology too.
Everybody on Team Francis, everybody involved in this deserves a victory lap, deserves to say whatever they need to say.
Markel, of course, Francis's longtime manager. Eric Nixick is the coach of the year. I could tell you that now. Dewey Cooper deserves, we tend to give a lot of shine to Eric, but Dewey Cooper was in that corner. The Tyson thing, the Mike Tyson thing was, a bit of a marketing thing, but Tyson did a great job being his hype man. Like at the press conference, that was all Mike Tyson. So I have no issues. I have no issues with Tyson's involvement. That scene of them walking out, Nixick, Dewey, Mike, but then the three kings at the forefront. I mean, the images were beautiful. I love what they did with Fury as well. Fury, that scene where he's walking out of the locker room and it's all the boxing legends. So it's hard not to make this into an MMA versus boxing thing because on paper, on the surface, it's MMA versus boxing. And let's be honest, MMA typically has not fared well in these moments. I know you could bring up Anderson Silva and Julio Cesar Chavez, but like all the Jake Paul fights, MMA has not been, doing well. And then, for the most part, I think Conor did fine. He won those first 4 rounds. He did fine. There hasn't been a ton of high profile moments, but for the most part, we keep taking our lumps. We keep having to listen that, the MMA guys can't punch, they can't strike, they don't know how to box, they don't know how to do this. You don't know shit about boxing. You don't know this. You're not smart enough. The MMA media, we're the circus guys. We're the ones that cover Misfits and Jake Paul and all this stuff. But those guys, there's the hoity-toity bunch over there, and they look down. So even though I'm saying it wasn't Francis versus boxing, it wasn't. In some respects, it was MMA versus boxing one more time. And if Francis would have gotten whooped, the crossover fights would have been dead for a very long time, in my opinion. Now it's wide open. Now you've got Mike Perry calling out Canelo. Suga is calling out Devin Haney. God knows who else is going to call out. And more people. Why wouldn't Saudi want to put on these events? Why wouldn't promoters want to do this? Because look at the money and look at the attention. And I'm hearing that the pay-per-view numbers did very well. Maybe they'll announce it. Maybe they won't. I don't know. So if you are in charge of Francis's career at this point, what do you do? I don't know. What do you do?
You take the biggest possible fight, whatever sport it's in. If you get an opportunity in MMA that is significant, then that's the fight you take. Now, I'm saying all this. I don't know what Francis Ngannou's PFL deal says, right? Like, I don't know what leverage he has in terms of delaying his MMA debut for this long. But if it is up to him, if it is his choice, you take the biggest possible fight, whether that's in the boxing realm or the MMA realm. Whoever comes to the table with the biggest possible fight, that is the fight that you take. And it doesn't matter which sport it's in.
GC?
Tyson Fury rematch.
100%. I'm 100% with Rick. I mean, at this point, I really like there's no like real strong desire to see him only go back to MMA. It's really wherever the biggest fight is. If he can get a name that is just absolutely massive, then of course let's go back to MMA. But I mean, you're talking about him getting ranked in the top 10 of the boxing rankings now, and like he can actually start fighting for belts there. I'm excited to see what he can do against another opponent at the top of the heavyweight division in boxing. So wherever the biggest name, biggest payday, everything, sign me up.
I believe Dan Hardy said this on the broadcast on Saturday on TNT Sports. I did not see this part, but PT told me he did. And if so, I want to give him full credit. To me, the one that feels the biggest is him versus Deontay Wilder, and it's him versus Deontay Wilder in a PFL cage. Because,
MMA, 4-ounce gloves.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be
Deontay Wilder
Oh my
might
God.
be the craziest one of the bunch who would do that sort of thing. And now you've got the boxing media who knows all about Francis. Now you've got, the MMA media obviously is all in on this. And now you've got for the first time like an actual current boxing great in his prime going over to MMA. That seems to be the thing, no?
I think a Fury rematch is going to be bigger. And I say that from the perspective that boxing fans, I think, will not travel to MMA as easily as MMA fans will travel to boxing, right? Like MMA fans will watch Fury versus Ngannou. Will boxing fans watch Deontay Wilder versus Francis Ngannou in MMA? I'm not sure the answer. I would hope that the answer is yes, and I would expect that there's a certain portion, but I'm not there. You talked about it. There's a sanctimony, there's a purity, there's a lack of respect, and I don't know that would travel as easily. So I would assume that a Fury rematch is bigger. But man, the idea of those two throwing hands with 4-ounce gloves is tasty.
I mean,
tempting.
What do we even do there? Do we just make it one untimed round until someone gets knocked out? Like, it's just like, how long does that even last? Like, two of the biggest power punchers of all time, getting in and going at it with 4-ounce gloves just sounds, absolutely insane. That now that you've even put this idea in my head, that's the fight.
That's the one that I think is most
that would
interesting.
just be-
It's like the evolution of this fight, right? It's like, okay,
reverse,
he's staying.
yeah.
Yes.
Honestly, and I want to see like Francis's chin. If I'm not mistaken, he's never been knocked out in his MMA career, and he was just not even phased by anything that Tyson Fury threw at him. Like, I really want to see his chin get tested against a guy like Deontay Wilder. Like, that would just be.
Here's an important question. If you're Deontay Wilder, are you looking at that fight against Tyson Fury and thinking, yeah, I don't know if I want to fight this guy anymore? Now,
Oh, it's so big.
I'm not.
Deontay versus Francis is bigger than Deontay versus AJ. Agree or
Agree for sure. Just because of the auras around both of them and their knockout power. What if Tyson Fury goes and gets undisputed and then they rematch it and it's actually with the belts on the line?
Oh my God.
Beats Usyk, gets undisputed, and then they rematch it. Fury like, all right, I'm really going to put 100% into it this time. I know I can get him again. Huge payday. Belts on the line though. Ngannou would obviously take it. I mean, there's a lot of options right now for Francis Ngannou.
Okay, so while I was going through my whole diatribe, I kept getting phone calls, and then I looked at my phone because it was popping up on my computer over here, and then I looked at my phone, and then I was a little bit distracted while we were doing all this because I was trying to coordinate everything going on. In 5 minutes, we're going to be joined by Francis Ngannou live from Saudi Arabia, but there was one man who was mentioned multiple times all week and who was responsible for putting together this fight and is responsible for everything that is going on from a sports and entertainment perspective in Riyadh for Riyadh season. He is His Excellency Turki Alalshikh, and he said to me that he wants to come on the show right now to say a thing or two. And so let us go to Saudi Arabia for an impromptu conversation with His Excellency Turki Alalshikh. Hello, Turki. How are you?
Hello, my brother.
Salam
Thank you,
alaikum.
and alaikum salam. Thank you, and hello for everybody in the studio with you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So, yes, I wasn't planning on talking to you. I saw your number keep popping up on my computer. Francis is about to join us. So I want to know what you want to say.
I see what you said, and I have an opinion if you can give me time to talk about it.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Sir, I am not surprised what Ngannou doing in the fight. If this is something I believe about Ngannou as a brother. If I doesn't believe he will give us good fight, I will not put him in the opening of Riyadh season entertainment season. I believe what Francis Ngannou can do, and he do a great fight. He remember me the fight between Ali and Norton too. It is close fight, and Ngannou deserve it, and he will come to my home after 2 hours to discuss about the future. Yesterday we discussed, and I give him a lot of options because I support him in everything. And after 2 hours, we will continue meeting after he meet you. What I need to say, brother, we need, as a person like you, we need to have the credit for Ngannou and Riyadh season, because we doing this thing. We believe about this fight, and it is not like usually what I said. It is not like YouTuber fight. I doesn't like YouTuber fight. You like the MMA more, brother, and I like MMA, but I like the boxing more.
I like both equally. I like both equally, but I cover MMA predominantly here.
But I think, sir, what we are seeing in Saturday was something amazing.
Incredible, yes.
And it will change everything. And I am sorry you are not with us because your daughter's birthday, and I hope in the future we can catch with you, inshallah. But what I said, and I think in the couple weeks, there is important things we will announce about it. And I will give it to you specially, inshallah, in the time, only for you.
I appreciate that.
Thank you. It will be clear from today. I will talk with Ngannou about the future, and in a couple of weeks, we will announce all the map for Riyadh season and what we have in the fight section.
I love that. And by the way, for the record, I've never said that you didn't believe in him or that the kingdom didn't believe in him.
No, I know.
I think that without you, probably doesn't happen. This fight doesn't happen because Tyson doesn't get the payday that he wants, and Francis doesn't get what he wants. So I believe that strongly. I wasn't talking about you. I was talking or anyone that you work with. I was talking about.
But I want to say
doubters.
To you something, sir.
Yes.
I want to say, and this is important thing. I cannot talk about you, but I cannot talk about myself. I work for the countries, yes, but also I have a salary for it. No one work without money. That means it is not only about money, but the money is necessary for a lot of things. Okay, of course, Tyson have a big contract, Ngannou have a big contract, but we have big night in our country and the opening of Riyadh season ceremony, and I think it will be one of the most big pay-per-view ever. I just have the numbers of DAZN, and DAZN doesn't cover all the world, doesn't cover in this fight, especially in America and UK and Australia and the Middle East and Africa. Okay, the DAZN is more than 200,000 subscribed. Just DAZN, more than 200 subscribed. Okay, I think, and I hope we will be the most watched pay-per-view fight ever. And I will give you the number in the right time. The money is important, but the money is not everything. And of course, you see around more than 70 legends come to the fight in the boxing and the UFC field. This is the first time this number has been there, but it was necessary to me to have meeting with them to talk about our vision, the Crown Prince, God bless him, vision 2030 about our country and about the vision of the entertainment and Riyadh season section about the boxing and the fight field. I need the legend. And yesterday we are opening Mike Tyson gym, and I will send to you the videos and the pictures. And inshallah, in the future, I will meet you in London or in New York. I know you are in New York, and discuss about a lot of things. What, in the end, I want to say to you, brother, you are a great man in the broadcast field. I like you a lot, and I like your program. For that, I want to have with you sharing with you some ideas in the future, inshallah.
Okay. I appreciate that very much. Very kind of you to come on, and congratulations on a great event. Like I said, I had a bit of FOMO. I don't know if you know, FOMO is like fear of missing out. I was a little bit sad that I wasn't there on Saturday because it seemed like such a big event, and I saw all the great boxing legends.
We have the future, my brother.
Yes, so I look forward to that. And so thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. Can I ask you one last question, and then we'll get to Francis, who's standing by. Will Francis Ngannou's next fight be in Saudi Arabia?
I give him yesterday the contract and the offer, and he's having his decision by himself, and I am waiting today the meeting with him to discuss what he wants to do.
Okay.
I give him the options yesterday in the table, and it is his call now, not me.
And will Fury Usyk be December 23rd, or is it going to be a different date now?
This is one of the secrets I want to share with you in the future.
Okay. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it. Congratulations. And enjoy the WWE event this weekend, Crown Jewel. I look forward to it.
Say hi for everyone in the studio with you.
I will do that. Mysterious Frank's a big fan of yours as well, so I will do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Salam alaikum. Thank you. Bye-bye. There he is, His Excellency, Turki Alalshikh, joining us live from Saudi Arabia. Guys, Frank, are you excited about all of that?
Super excited.
Yes. Okay.